Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today, very special video we got going on here, and I'm joined by my guy, John from ClutchTalk. How's it going, my man?
My dog, man. Happy to be back. I'm ready to talk some hoops with you, man. I know when you hit me up with this idea for this video, I was excited. Love doing collabs with you. So I appreciate the invite, brother.
Yes, sir. I mean, obviously, like, I had you on a few of the tournaments recently, but I feel like it's been a minute since we've actually talked hoops, at least on my channel, because I think we also did something recently for you. But I think this would be good. You know, I think the last time we did like a debate thing was maybe like the top 25 dunkers or something.
Yep.
So this will be good. There's 7 different categories today, and we're doing an NBA categories Mount Rushmore. So basically, we got 7 categories here between scoring, rebounding, passing. I call it the swipers and the swatters. So like the best at stealing the ball, the best at blocking shots, and then we got shooters, and then last we got the lasters, as in, you know, the people that have maybe the best like longevity. We're picking 4 for each. We don't. I mean, you could, I guess, rank them if you want, but you don't have to. And I think we're just gonna start off with the main one here, scoring, and you can start off by giving your 4, and then I'll give my 4, and then we'll kind of talk about it a little bit before we progress to the next one. So for the scoring Mount Rushmore, who are your 4 picks?
Okay, so you want me to just give my 4 and then give reasonings, or give one at a time and give reasons? What you want me to do?
Whichever way you want to do it.
Okay, let me go ahead and give one at a time and give some reasonings, because I sound like I have crazy amount. But number 1, I feel like it's pretty clear. It's got to be LeBron James. It's got to be number 1 scorer of all time and counting. I mean, I don't think anyone is ever going to catch him, to be honest. He's a 3-level scorer, can score inside, can score outside, can score from the midi. And if you kind of look at his entire career, like, he's proven that all because he scored in all types of ways. Like when he was younger, he'd just be athletic and using his athleticism, finishing over the top of people. Now this man plays chess out there. He maps out the floor. He was the youngest player to reach 10K points at 23 years old, youngest player to reach 20K, 30K. He's the Cavs all-time leading scorer and holds the record for most points in a game. Same thing for the Miami Heat. He's not the leading scorer for the Miami Heat, but he does hold the most points from one game, 61 points against the Bobcats 2014. So, I mean, I think that's pretty clear. That's my number 1. For the rest of the video, I know Garrett said, you know, we're not really going to have like 1, 2, 3, 4, but I had to put that in there. That's my number 1. And then my second one here on this list would be Kevin Durant. And it's crazy because out of the 4 guys that I actually am going to have on this list, he's the lowest in the all-time scoring list. He's number 8. But if I had to pick one player out of all these guys to just go get a bucket, just like, hey, I just need you to score, it'd be Kevin Durant. I mean, LeBron is a 3-level scorer. Kevin Durant is a 4-level scorer. He can score inside, outside, midi, and his free throw is automatic. I mean, throughout a 17-year career that he's had so far, he's an average is 88% from the free throw line. It's ridiculous. He's had multiple years where he shot over 90% from the free throw line, and we're talking about a 6'11". Really, he's 7 foot. I've met Kevin Durant in person, so he's really 7 foot. So we're talking about a 7-foot guy who can handle the ball like a point guard. His IQ's up there. He absolutely, Kevin Durant's got to be up there. And then my last 2, got to give some respect to my guy Kobe Bryant. The same way people feel about Michael Jordan and just falling in love with his physique and his ability to score and everything. That's what made how I feel about Kobe Bryant. Number 4 on the all-time scoring list. His footwork is an underrated part of his game, which I love. And then lastly, got to go with Michael Jordan, most people's GOAT. He's number 5 on the all-time scoring list. I mean, could go on and on about him, but that's my 4, brother.
It's pretty interesting because I feel like we have a pretty similar Mount Rushmore. It's not entirely the same, but it's pretty similar. My first choice was who you just named there at the end, Michael Jordan. In my opinion, is the greatest scorer ever. I mean, the highest points per game in the regular season, the highest points per game in the postseason, and I would say he's also like the most skilled scorer ever, and just like the ways that he can completely control a game and really control the defense as well. I think that that's something that really separates him from like the rest of the pack. My number 2, as you even pointed right there, I got Kobe. It's very similar to Michael Jordan, and I would honestly say, like, you know, of course, I would say like the edge he has on Jordan is he's a little bit of a better 3-point shooter, But I would say too, like the other thing that Kobe has is that like his takeover is kind of like unlike anyone else. Like when he's hitting shots, it's almost like there's nothing you can do. And especially like the shots that sometimes he takes, yeah, his efficiency isn't maybe like the greatest, but when he's hitting shots over 3 or 4 dudes, what can you do other than just shrug? You know what I mean? Now this is where it's going to get a little controversial, I think. My third choice, I have Wilt Chamberlain.
Wow.
And I mean, I just, in terms of the pure all-around game, obviously, you mentioned guys like LeBron, Durant, I mean, even other guys or whatever that maybe weren't mentioned, probably have a more all-around scoring ability. But when I look at Wilt, you just can't ignore the fact that the guy averaged 50 points. It doesn't matter if he's taller than a lot of his opponents. Like, doing that in any era is insane, insane. Like, even if the 100-point game still has no footage on it, like, you can't
even if it was fake.
Even if it was fake, you can't deny the 50-point per game. And I believe, shout out to Shaq, but I believe that Wilt might just be the most dominant player ever too. And I think as well, like having a good touch like around the rim too, like the post hook. His post fadeaway wasn't all too bad, I would say, either. I think a lot of people don't really realize that. Of course, he wasn't going to shoot threes. The three-point line didn't exist then, but and he probably honestly couldn't shoot as well anyways if he wanted to. So, but I do have him here because just the scoring output that he put up at his best, we haven't ever seen before and probably will never see again. And then the last person I have on here, I did choose one of your other two, and I didn't choose your guy. I had to choose Kevin Durant, unfortunately.
That's crazy.
I had to choose Kevin Durant. I mean, this is a guy who, you said, he's like 7 feet. He can handle the ball, shoot. And really, I think the thing is, like, he's never afraid to take that shot either. Like, he would go down losing as a scorer. You know what I mean? So it's a very tough situation. I think in a way, too, his fadeaway is very reminiscent of, like, MJ and Kobe, like, in one. So I don't know. It's really tough. I mean, and I get it too. Where you're coming from with obviously LeBron has, the most total points and everything like that, and then also like his ability to get downhill as well. Maybe in a way you could kind of change him in for Wilt, I would say, but especially those other three, and I just really can't deny Wilt's scoring output. So
no, I hear you, bro. Look, and this is going to be a common theme throughout this episode. Is that look? Jay-Z once said, "Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't." So the numbers just don't lie. But I do have two, I guess, like not rebuttals, but I guess just like want to check your temperature on that, gauge your temperature. First thing I'm going to say for Wilt, like I agree because just like I said, women lie, men lie, but numbers don't. But like, do you not take competition level into account? Because I know you said like, he could be, one of the most dominant players. We talk about the 50 points per game, and yes, I agree. Scoring 50 points, even on some elementary school kids, is impressive. But it's like, if we're gonna measure that to players like maybe the Kobe's, the LeBrons, the Kevin Durant's, everyone else, they were going against much higher competition. So, to you and your list, did that matter to you, or did that not matter?
I mean, it definitely does matter. Although I do think like sometimes just the way that you're able to score, if it's something that you just can't stop, like Kevin Durant being that tall, being able to handle the ball and shoot the ball that way, you can't stop it. Michael Jordan in the post fadeaway, same thing with Kobe, really. And I think that's kind of the same similarity there with Wilt. And it's not to say that there's other guys that I don't have on my list that necessarily can't. I just feel like these are the four that do the most. I mean, another guy, just to add to that too, that's kind of from Wilt's era, like just to throw one out there that I was considering but I didn't put on here, was Jerry West. Just because I feel like he's one of the guys, too, that, like, especially in the playoffs, like, one of the highest volume and really efficient scorers for that time, too. And can you imagine if there was a three-point line then? I mean, I don't know, man. I think his scoring output might be even crazier. So
okay, I like that. And then my other thing I was going to say was, hey, I give Kevin Durant all the credit. But how are you not going to put the number one scorer of all time, regular season and playoffs? Like, yeah, I understand Jordan has the highest average, but like, if you look at regular season and playoffs, it's LeBron. He's up there. How does he not even crack your top four? That's crazy.
It's a tough decision, and I think this is what we're going to see too as we're going on is that, at least for me personally, I don't know about you, but like not every category did I pick like someone who might have like the most total whatever or the most or the highest average. So it's like it really depends. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree, and there's some where I don't either. I agree, but that to me that's just one that's clear. But I feel you though, brother. I think that's the goodness of the show. It's like you have one perspective, you have another perspective, and I love it. And I feel like you can't say any list is right or wrong.
Mm-hmm. I mean, aside from that, like we were pretty much in the same ballpark there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to hit on before you move on?
Nothing else I want to hit on besides just Kevin Durant. He's just freaking that guy.
Yeah, he is, and I mean, a lot of these guys are that guy.
They're all that guy. Yeah, what am I talking about? All these guys are that guy.
Yeah.
What am I talking about, man? I'm just talking about just getting a bucket. That's that guy. But yeah, brother.
And getting buckets they're the most important thing in the game. But sometimes in order to get buckets, you need to be able to grab the ball, clean the glass. So let's move on to...
I love that transition. I love that.
So now we can move on to the rebounding Mount Rushmore. Again, we have 4 people. I'm very curious about this one because I feel like there's a lot of people to consider, but we'll see what direction you went. So who are your 4 for this list?
Wow, brother. Wow. This one right here, I ain't gonna lie to you. I gotta respect the fact that Wilt is the all-time leader, right? I think he's at 23,924. So he leads all NBA history in rebounding. So I gotta respect that. But I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I wasn't sitting here watching full Wilt games. Like I wasn't sitting here just like watching full games. I mean, I've definitely seen some hardwood classics, some highlights or whatnot. And in my opinion, for my list, I got to take competition level into account. So to me, the greatest rebounder of all time is actually someone who is at number 9 on the all-time rebounding list, and that's Kevin Garnett. Now, I know a lot of people may be like, what in the world are you talking about? Kevin Garnett, he's all-time 14,662 rebounds, but it's his passion and the hustle that he has when he goes after those rebounds. It's absolutely unmatched, bro. Like I literally, when I think of a comparison of Kevin Garnett going after a rebound, I think of a dog going after a frisbee. Like that, like that's what I think of. It's just like, yo, like I don't care who's in the way. I'm staring at this ball. I'll run over whoever's in front of me. I need to get this rebound. So to me, what puts him as the greatest rebounder of all time is the intensity he did it with and the high amount of boards. I mean, 14,000 boards is a lot. So to me, that's my number 1. My number 2 is actually a close second to me, and he actually sits in 10th place, and that's Dwight Howard, bro. He's 14,627, but similar to Kevin Garnett, like I love just like the way he does it and the passion he does it with. But what I really loved about Dwight Howard, and I remember being young watching Dwight Howard with that Orlando Magic jersey, and he would have that little Under Armour, that little undershirt thing he wore. Bro, his shoulders, and this is, I'm pause when I say this, all right? But his shoulders were just so broad, bro. I swear, bro was getting every rebound, moving people out the way. And to me, like, that's such a nostalgic, like, I remember that blue Orlando Magic jersey with the white stripes coming down, and you could see that little Under Armour thing, undershirt thing he had, and boy would just get every rebound. So I got to give him props. So he's my number 2. Number 3, I gotta go with Tim Duncan, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Like, even though Tim Duncan got more boards than both Dwight Howard and Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan's number 6 of all time with 15,000. I don't know. I don't know why. Like Tim Duncan, and you know, big fundamentals. So I know he's getting it done no matter what. But just to me, it never was appealing. So, and then the number 4 slot. I know it's gonna sound insane to put the number 1 leading rebounder of all time at number 4, but that's where I'm gonna go with Wilt at my number 4 slot.
Well, I am glad that you put Wilt there because that means we have one similarity. Everything else is different though. But yeah, I have Wilt on there. Like you said, highest rebound per game average, and it's not only that, but it's like I think just the way, like if you know, obviously there's not a whole lot of footage from him, but like just watching the way he gets rebounds, part of it is because he has such like a long wingspan, but he's also like a freak athlete. You know what I mean? So, like, considering that as well, I mean, like, it wasn't, like, by accident that he got 22, 23 rebounds a game for his career. And someone else who did that, too, from the same era, I put him in here, too, and that's Bill Russell. You know, you got to factor in he is a little bit shorter than Wilt Chamberlain and probably gets up just about as high, too. And it's not like this is an era where it's like they were playing against a bunch of, like, guys my size or something like that. You know what I mean? So, like, Nate Thurman, like, you know, Willis Reed, or Kareem, like, was in the league for part of the time with Will, or Jerry Lucas, like, he's one of the highest rebounders. Like, there's really no one else that has higher than a 16 rebound per game average. Bob Pettit's another one too. Like, I think that's pretty overwhelming when it's like you have two guys above 22 per game for their career, and then the next person that's 16. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Absolutely.
So I have to put them. They're both in the 20K rebound club, and I think it's pretty impressive for that too, because it's like you think about like long careers now for a lot of guys, like they really didn't play super long in the NBA. You know, like they played about like maybe 13, 14 years each. So it's like that's a long career still, but it's like you have guys now that are playing like 18, 19 seasons, and it's like they're that overwhelming ahead of everyone. Like, that's just crazy.
Yeah. It's a lot of games to be ahead of somebody.
Yeah. And the third person I have on here, now this is the one, I mean, I understand Will, I understand Bill, like for your reasoning why you were kind of hesitant to put him on or something, but the one I'm surprised with is Dennis Rodman.
See, bro, I ain't gonna lie. This is gonna sound crazy, but he's an overrated rebounder. Like,
really?
I like. Don't get me wrong, Dennis Rod. I think he's like 23 all time in rebounding list. And not that this is about numbers. This has to do a lot more than numbers. But I just feel like people just always talk about Dennis Rodman with rebounding. Like, I would rather took Kevin Garnett or Dwight Howard. That's the only reason why I didn't put Dennis Rodman. I ain't gonna lie though. But he's a good rebounder though.
Well, see, my thing is, too, it's like, I mean, this is a guy who, at his prime, not only that, but, like, playing in a league with a lot of bigs, like Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Shaq, and he led the league in rebounding, like, 7 times, and he had years where he averaged, like, 16, 17, 18. So, and I'm pretty sure he's the third shortest guy to do so. And to do so,
is
like,
he really? I'm looking at his height right now.
So,
he's 6'7", yeah.
6'7". I think the only ones shorter are Charles Barkley and Mel Hutchins from like 50s or something.
But you know what? That's a great point, Garrett. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I don't think I'm budging because I gotta keep KG, gotta keep Dwight. Maybe I'll move Tim for Dennis, even though Tim leads them all. But maybe I'll move Tim because that is a great point. Being 6'7" and being on the all-time rebounding list with all these giants is a huge accomplishment. I'm gonna be honest.
And I mean, I just feel like he has like a great, like kind of fight for the ball. Like, how many clips do we see of him like just tipping it up? And it's like, like a guy that's 6'7" and you're going against 7-footers. Like, that shouldn't happen, you know. The last guy I have though on here, and you didn't mention him. I feel like he's a little bit slept on as a rebounder, and that's Moses Malone. In my opinion, he's quite easily the best offensive rebounder that we've seen since the stats been tracked. Like, they literally call him the chairman of the boards for a reason, because like that's literally like his calling card. And 6 times in the league he led in rebounds per game. So I just feel like, you know, he's a little slept on as a rebounder. And yeah, I mean, if he's on my team, like, I know that I can miss a lot of shots and be okay.
Okay, I like that. I like that list a lot. Maybe I'll think about moving Tim out for Dennis, because that was a great pick, and I do love that Moses love, because I definitely was not looking for Moses for that.
For sure. So yeah, I don't know if you want to progress to the next one.
Cool. I'm cool with that, as long as you give me another smooth transition like you did last time.
Well, why don't we dish it over to the passing?
I love it, Garrett. I love it, bro. Oh,
I'm not gonna lie. I knew you were gonna say something about like the transition, and I'm like, oh, I have it like perfect.
Hey, you better have one for every single one, Garrett, because I'm asking for every one. Let's go. I'm ready.
I'll try. There's a lot of pressure on me now. Anyways, so for passing, you know, the main 4, the Mount Rushmore. What do you got?
All right, brother. Number 1. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's crazy because this guy is sitting at number 1. And I still think people somehow find a way to sleep on him. And that's because I think it's just that he's white and his stature. But this is John Stockton, bro. He is the number one all-time leading in the NBA for assists with 15,806. He leads by more than 3,000 assists. Like, that's an absurd stat, guys. Like, that's an absurd stat. Like, I don't think anyone is this similar to how I think about LeBron. I don't think anyone's ever going to catch LeBron's scoring record. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think anyone's ever going to touch John Stockton's assist record for a couple of reasons, right? I mean, for the fact that for the first 10 years of his NBA career, he didn't miss a single game. Like, he literally he missed 22 games in a 19-year NBA career. So this man was extremely durable for that reason. Also for the reason of the fact that, like, he had Karl Malone. So, like, his point and his role on a team was get assists, get the ball to Karl, not necessarily get assists, but get the ball to Karl Malone after that pick and roll. So I just got to give him credit. I don't think anyone's going to catch him because, leading by a 3,000 assists is absolutely wild. And for kids out there, y'all, that like are not super athletes, like if you're not a freaking LeBron James, if you're not, a Zion, you need to be looking at John Stockton and his playing style because he ate for years, bro. He had a 19-year NBA career with just simple and effective moves. I mean, like I said, that pick and roll with Karl Malone was just so candy, bro. Like, it was simple, but it was so sweet, and so many options would come out of it. Either you would have the roll, or you would have John Stockton open for a midi or open for a three, or you would have when John Stockton's coming to the hoop, you'd have defenders on the wing just ready to catch and shoot. So honestly, credit to John Stockton. And another thing, a part of his game that I think is slept on, that I think helps his passing ability, is his shooting ability. Because like, you're coming off that screen as a defender, you can either double Karl or and then leave John open, and if you do that, he's knocking that down. Or you can try to get over that, and then John's making that pass. So honestly, I want to give credit to John Stockton for doing all that he did. And my number 2 on my list is actually the lowest of all the 4 that I'm going to have. And that's Magic Johnson. He's number 7 on the all-time assist list with 10,141. But he also played the least amount of years by all these 4 guys that I have, and by far. And I also think that Magic Johnson is a freaking trailblazer, bro. Like in the basketball world, like he's one of the first players, at least that not that I was watching, but I could remember of, and I can look back through, that was like 6'9", handling the ball like that, passing like that. Like, he damn near created the Showtime Lakers. Like he almost is credited for bringing the NBA back to life. Like David Stern, when RIP David Stern, but when he would talk about Magic Johnson, he'd say, I owe everything to Magic Johnson. He brought the NBA exciting ratings, and just watching that man come downhill, he would get paint touches and then immediately kick that ball out. And honestly, the most important thing, and the reason why I almost put him at number 1, even though he's so low on the all-time assist list, is that his assists and his playmaking actually led to winning. Right, like, and what I think of this when I say is, like, remember when Devin Booker was on the Suns and he'd have like that freaking 80-point game or the 70-point game and lost? Like, to me, that was like, yo, like, that doesn't matter. Like, you lost, dog. Like, the number 1 objective is winning. And Magic Johnson, his assists and playmaking was leading to winning. He's a freaking 5-time champion, 4-time assist champ, and there's only been 7 players in NBA history to ever have more than 10K assists in their career. Magic Johnson is one of those 7, and like I mentioned earlier, he has played less than 1,000 games. So he's played less than all 7 other guys. All 6 other guys have played at least 1,200 career games more. Magic Johnson has played less than 1,000, but he's up there. So for that, I got to give him that number 2 slot. Coming out my number 3 slot, I got Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd out of Oakland, California, the Bay over here. So I got to represent. 5-time assist champion. Also, the way he pushed that ball up court was just, I think we hadn't seen that probably since Magic. And then my last spot, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I'm actually still up in the air about it. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you, bro. And here's my 2 players, so maybe you can help me decide. My last spot, I don't know if I go with Jason Williams, the white chocolate. And the reason why I'd go with him is because, like, bro literally broke racial barriers, like, hooping. And I'm not even trying to be funny, but like like as a black person myself, like when I'm playing basketball, bro, there's nothing that I love more than playing with a solid white boy hooper, especially if that white boy keep feeding me the rock, like every time, like feeding me the rock, like, bro, I would love it. I know Jason Williams was invited to the cookouts. His name was freaking White Chocolate. And I want to give him credit for that, for all that he did. And his passing was just so electrifying, bro. Like, people loved playing with him. But I don't know if I put him in or if I put the man who's currently at the number 4 slot of all time, and that's LeBron James. And I'm going to be honest with you, bro. Like, I think passing is an underrated part of LeBron's game. And it's funny because LeBron himself always says, like, oh, I want to be known as a passer, I want to be known as a passer. But he's known as a scorer. I feel like that's what he's mainly more known for. But, like, LeBron James, he doesn't throw flashy passes like Jason Williams or whatnot, or Jason Kidd. But what he does do is he maps out the floor, bro. He literally is out there playing chess, and he throws you the ball where you're supposed to be according to that play, according to, you know, where the mapping out that he's doing in his head. Like, he knows where players are going to be on the defensive end and where to not throw the ball and where to throw the ball. And just to me, I think, like, the biggest thing about him, the reason why I would put him there, is I think his passing literally takes players who should not be serviceable and he makes them serviceable. I mean, you could look at freaking the Jordan Clarksons of the world, bro. You could look at the George Hills of the world. All these players who should not be as good as they looked when they were next to LeBron, but LeBron's passing ability and his game overall just, I think, made them better. So I really don't know, brother. I say all that to say I don't know. So maybe you can help me. So give me your 4. Maybe you can help me here.
Well, so I guess your 4th one, you're leaving it up in the air right now.
I'm kind of leaving it up to you. I ain't gonna lie, because I really don't know between Jay, Willie, and LeBron.
That is tough because I will say I don't have either of them on my list.
Ooh, all right. Let me hear your list. Maybe it'll help me decide.
First person I have on my list, obviously, now there's a little bit of bias, I guess, with this one, but I definitely think it's not biased to have him on this list, and that's Steve Nash. To me, and I stand by this, Steve Nash is the best passer that I've ever seen. And I just feel like he puts a flair on it where it's like, it's really unique. And it's like all the passes that you see him make, you're like, who's duplicating that? No one's doing that. Like, I think too, like, when you think of Steve Nash, you just think of efficient offense all around. I mean, like, he's the only guy to ever average a double-double in a 50-40-90 season, and he did it 3 times, almost 4. So that should just tell you how efficient he is. And he also was doing that sometimes, like when like Stoudemire was injured and Joe Johnson left and Quentin Richardson was gone. Like, if you go back and check the 2006 Suns, like, no business being as good as they were, and he really elevated some guys who really should have never been as good as they were, like, to a point where, like, they made the conference finals. They almost made the NBA finals that year. So it's like, it's just crazy to think about. And I feel like all the things considered that he does, like, he sets up, like, the spoon-fed baskets for a lot of these guys around him that maybe, like, I'm not talking about, like, an Amari Stoudemire or Sean Marion or something, but, like, the other guys that have maybe no business cracking a rotation. Like, he's that guy. And he's a no-look king, I think. And another guy who I would say is really a no-look king, I mean, you kind of touched on him with your second choice, and that's Magic Johnson. I mean, like, he's really, like, the prime of Showtime. Like, that's basically what he is. And I feel like he influenced, like, a lot of guys, like, that came after him, too. Like, there's a lot of guys who, like, look up to that team, look up to that squad, and they, like, want to throw passes like Magic. And I feel like because of that, like, I kind of have to put him in here. Now, number 3, you have him on your list, and I'm not going to lie, I was not probably going to put him in here originally. He was going to be, like, a harsh one to cut, but I was a little persuaded because someone put together a crazy mix lately of him, like, throwing the impossible passes, you know, and it's like, it made me think, like, obviously he made great passes, but it's like, I never really thought about how impossible of passes he made that were, like, on the dot, and that's Jason Kidd. Like, I just feel like he's in a way too, like, similar to maybe what Steve Nash did, like what Jason Kidd did with some of those guys in the Nets that really should never have had as free of baskets as they got, or maybe had the best opportunity to score as they did, succeed as they did. I feel like you got to give him a lot of credit for that. And that all comes from the root of his passing, from Nash's passing, from Magic's passing, like really all these guys. And then my fourth one, this is a little bit of I guess like a wild card. I don't think it's far-fetched to say he could be like one of the best passers ever, but obviously like his assists per game like wasn't as high as these other guys, and he was really more known as a scorer. But I'm gonna go with Pistol Pete Maravich.
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
Because I mean, he also made passes that have not been replicated since. Even though people have tried it, like he really was kind of like a trendsetter because people have not been able to do what he did. And I feel like he's also kind of an over the head king. Like I've never seen someone throw passes kind of over their head as frequently or as stylish as he has. So because of that, I had to put those four.
Do you remember a couple of years ago when Campazzo was on the Nuggets, and he would throw that overhead pass to Nikola Jokic? He'd come off the screen, then Nikola Jokic would fade out, and he'd just throw it like that. So maybe him. But okay, brother, I'm gonna be honest with you. I had Steve Nash originally, and I took Steve Nash out for Jason Williams, and then I was like, fudge, what about LeBron? And then I was like, man, I really don't know what to do. But to be 100 with you, bro, Steve Nash deserves a spot over Jason Williams and LeBron. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, you're right, bro. He orchestrated the 7-second offense, like 7 seconds or less offense. Him and Mike D'Antoni, like, bro, they made that like the thing, and that offense would not have ran as well if it wasn't for Steve Nash. Like Mike D'Antoni could have, like, I know it was a different era, but he kind of tried to do the same fast basketball when he was with the Rockets with James Harden in them, and it didn't work. And I feel like, again, league changed, a lot changed, so there's a lot of moving variables here. But I do know that like a biggest part of the reason why it didn't work is because you didn't have a point guard like Steve Nash at the helm. So I'm gonna be honest with you. As much as it hurts my heart, I'm just kidding. It doesn't hurt my heart to exile LeBron. I'm gonna exile LeBron, and I'm gonna exile Jason Williams. I don't care what kind of racial barriers you breaking. You're not doing the Steve Nash 7 seconds or left.
Like I just vividly remember that one play where like he went between his legs. He was like looking like he was surveying the defense, but all along he was just fooling everyone. And he just dished it right there. And then I think it was either Stoudemire or maybe it was like Jason Richardson or something on the later Suns. Like just came right down the lane, easy layup or dunk or like it was just like that's really like what it is. So
that's true, bro. Yeah. The crazy thing, not a pass, but one of the crazy things I think about when I think of Steve Nash is remember when he freaking dislocated his nose, like broke his nose, and then popped that right back into place, like not even in the timeout, like just in a possession, like ball goes out of bounds. Oh, snap my nose, pop, and then kept rocking. That was crazy.
He would always have injury, like his eyes, his nose, like he was just like, yeah. Like he was just always battling. But I mean, you got to be aggressive, and sometimes on the defensive end, that's what these four are gonna do. How do you like that?
Garrett, bro, you're on a roll right now, dog. I love that.
So yeah, we got the swipers. Now these are the guys to reiterate because it's a little different. Like the people that we think kind of maybe like steal the ball the best, like maybe like on the ball defense and like just ripping it from the guys, or they great anticipation, whatever it may be. Who would you say are your four?
All right, brother. This is the only category, I ain't gonna lie, that I don't have it like in order. Well, actually, I have number one in order, and then the rest I kind of like. I guess are it's up to the viewer discretion. I guess they can decide, or we can decide here right now. But my number one, look, I got to respect John Stockton for being the all-time steals leader with 3,265. But in my opinion, he's not the greatest like swiper, not the greatest stealer in my opinion. In my opinion, it's number 5 on that list, and that's Gary Payton, who sits at 2,245. But the reason why I have him there, bro, is because like as a basketball player myself, bro, like the number one thing I hate, besides when I freaking give the ball to a big man and the big man tries to be a point guard and bring the ball up court. But the number one thing I really hate is when I keep getting picked up full court. Like, okay, I'll break the press. You know what I'm saying? I'll break the press. I'll get through it. But it's just making me work so much more. And Gary Payton, bro, was one of those guys that he didn't care what time of the season it was, regular season, playoffs. He was picking up 94, and he was legitimately, bro, instilling fear into these people. Like, I've heard so many guards like that are now retired be on podcasts saying like, yeah, when GP was out there, like, I'm giving the ball up. Like, I don't want to bring the ball up court. And I think that, like, if you can be so good of a stealer or so good of a swiper, however we want to look at it, like, that you are now, like, not only do you have the physical advantage, you are now starting to instill fear. You have the mental edge over your opponent. Like, bro, that's I don't know if John Stockton. I'm sure credit to John Stockton. You don't just stumble upon him being the all-time leading steals getter, but I don't know if, and maybe I just haven't heard enough NBA players talk about it, but I've never heard about John Stockton. Another person I have on this list is Jason Kidd. Another person I have on this list is Chris Paul. I've never heard players talk about those three guys in the way that they talk about GP and talk about the fact that this man just instills fear into people and is just ripping you early, and he's talking the whole time. That's another thing I don't like, bro. It's like when you picking up 94, you talking the whole time, like, and that's what he was on, bro. So in my opinion, I know he's not number one in the steals list, but I gotta go with GP, bro.
So that was your group too. Those other three.
Yeah, exactly. GP, CP, John Stockton, Jason Kidd.
I like it. And yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it right on the nose with Gary Payton, and that's why he's kind of the first person I had here on my list. I mean, they call him the glove for a reason. Like you said, it's like, really, like, he is the true Mr. 94 feet. I know they give that stupid nickname to Patrick Beverly, and, like, come on, bro. Like, you're not Gary Payton. Like,
you're not, bro.
And the other thing, too, is that, like, he won Defensive Player of the Year in, like, a big man era, like a big man heavy era. Like, how much, like, people prioritize rim protection, especially then. You know what I mean? Now it's a little bit more like of a spaced out game, so it's like having an elite perimeter defender could be the difference, but like having an interior defender like that was always the most important thing. To be that good on the perimeter on defense, I think you gotta give him that. And I mean, this is a guy who was trash talking as well, like, so he would have like a mental edge as well. He would really have like a mental edge on a lot of the people that he was going against, and it would just be so easy. Another guy that I have on here, I do have Michael Jordan on this one as well. It's very similar. Like, he's another kind of trash talker and a little bit of a pest. Maybe he doesn't get under you as much as Gary Payton, mostly because Gary Payton's shorter, but like also it's just like, because of that as well. Also a Defensive Player of the Year in like a big man prioritized era and a 3-time steals leader, but he also like got a lot of the clutch steals. And I think like that definitely comes into play too. It's like when you're late in a game and it's like you need a stop, like it's hard sometimes to get a steal. Sometimes you just got to hope like you can contest it the best way possible and then hope they miss, because like odds are like they're probably going to get a quality look. And I think everyone thinks to that game, like Game 6, where not only the shot against Utah, but like he got the steal, and there was another play against like the Blazers in like 92 where the same thing happened. Like, so it's just like big time moments. I think that I have to put him in here. The third person I have on here, actually, I have Kawhi. I have Kawhi on here. He's pretty much the only guy that I know in the modern era that I can confidently say he might be able to lock up a superstar. Not on every night, or you know what I mean, because sometimes like they're going to have their night, but he's the only guy that I have the confidence that it could be done. And I think like as well as that, it's like, I mean, I don't know if you remember too, I mean, this guy's not a superstar, but like literally there was a play where Ben McLemore got benched the rest of the game because
Kawhi ripped him
Kawhi
3 times.
kept ripping him like 3 times. Like he was, their coach was frustrated. Like it was just, he was having a bad day. Like it was just a very bad day. So like,
see, that's the worst, bro. Like, bro, I be telling my homies I hoop with, like, I would rather get dunked on than get ripped trying to bring the ball up court. I think that's more embarrassing. Like getting ripped in the back court when you're trying to bring the ball up court is probably one of the most embarrassing things that can happen to you as a basketball player, as a guard.
Especially too in Ben McLemore's building. You know, because like if it's in the Spurs building, like like everyone's gonna cheer and everything like that, so it's gonna sound the same. But like the silence of that like makes it even worse. I think when the crowd's like, oh, like the gasps,
they're like, damn, come on.
Yeah. And the other thing too, and I mean this stat's been said a lot about Kawhi, but like the fact he has more steals than turnovers or fouls, that's almost like unheard of. You know what I mean?
That. I really like that pick, bro. I ain't gonna lie, because definitely Kawhi is like one of them guys. Like it's kind of like when I think of when I think of like these older players, and I when people like throw like Wilt or like Bill Russell in the GOAT conversation, I always have a hard time doing it because I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but like if we can somehow get these guys in their prime, like LeBron in their prime, Bill Russell in his prime, Wilt in his prime, Shaq in his prime, like, and all they just checked up and play. Like, do you think these guys would really be able to stay with some of these guys? And my answer is no. Like, like I just don't think, because there's just the game, like the world has evolved, like technology has evolved, like all that. So that's sometimes why I don't give like love to guys like that. But I like that about Kawhi, because Kawhi, like, He like, if we checked up, like, he may not be up there on the all-time steals list, but if we checked up, and if I got to pick one person to go rip the ball from somebody, positions 1 through 5, I'm gonna probably go with Kawhi. I ain't gonna lie.
And I agree with you perfectly on that. And then my last person, I feel like it'd be a disservice to not put him in here. He's not as much of a household name as these other guys, but I actually went with Alvin Robertson.
Wow. I thought you were going to go Rondo, I ain't going to lie.
Yeah, I just feel like, Alvin Robertson, he currently has the highest steal per game average for anyone in their career. But not only that, he has the most total steals by anyone in a season, the most steals per game in a single season by anybody. And then he also actually has the highest steals per minute of any player in NBA history. So I think, like, those are a lot of, like, stats that it's like it's more than just getting lucky and, like, being in the passing lanes. Like, not to shade Steph Curry, but I mean, obviously, like, he's a steals champion. He's a steals champion, but it's more so about being in the passing lanes. You don't really necessarily say, oh, he's going to rip the ball from you or anything like that. Like, Alvin Robertson was that. So I feel like not enough people talk about him either, especially like when we're talking about the best defensive wings. So got to give him some credit.
Love that pick, bro. And you have no idea, bro. I've literally lived in the Bay Area for almost my entire life, and I've always told people that. I'm like, yo, like, Stephen Curry, he not as much now because he's definitely gotten stronger. But when he first was starting to come up, this man was a defensive liability. People would be like, bro, he gets so many steals. I'm like, dude, you're not watching the fucking game. He's playing in the passing lane. Like, that's so much different than you being a good defender. Like, GP, he's getting steals because he's just ripping you versus you playing in the passing lane. So I feel you, brother. I feel you on that.
Yeah, man. But I don't know. I mean, I messed with your list. I feel like our lists were pretty unique in that one. So, but if you want, we can.
I want the transition. Come on, I want the transition.
We'll just smack this list to the side and we'll move on to the Swatters. How about that?
Smack it over to the side. I love it.
So the top 4, like, block machines, the Swatters. Where are you leaning for these guys?
All right, bro. Damn, I just hurt my finger. But all right, look. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. The GOAT blocker has to be. There's literally no other option, in my opinion, but Hakeem the Dream, bro. Like, he is the all-time leader, and I mean by far, bro. He's sitting at 3,830 blocks. Second place is Dikembe Mutombo with 3,289. Bro, maybe people aren't good at math. I'm not good at math. I had to bust out my calculator. Bro, that means that Hakeem is leading Mutombo by more than 500 blocks. Like, bro, that is an insane number. That's almost as crazy as John Stockton leading by almost 3,000 assists. And to me, like, the reason why Hakeem's got to be the GOAT is because, like, not only he leads by so much, but that exact thing that I was talking about with GP, I mean, really kind of all these blockers kind of had that mental fortitude, mental edge over their players, but really over Hakeem, bro. Like, I swear to you, I've heard people talk about it. I've heard Kenny the Jet Smith talk about it. I've heard opponents talk about it. Like, that man just, like, and it wasn't that he was just big. It was that he was big and fast. Like, they was talking about, man, like, you would you would somehow beat him, and he's coming over from the help side to still get there, and he's wingspan, he's fast. So I got to give it to Hakeem, especially just because the amount that he leads everyone by is crazy. Can't discredit that. Next one that I have, Hakeem, Mutombo, and then the next one I have on my list at number 3 is Shaq. Shaq, I ain't gonna lie, he's at the 8 slot for all-time blocks. But if you like really watch Shaq, not just his highlights, not just looked at his numbers, like you know that like, man, it was so hard to score on that guy. It was so hard to score on that guy, and not only because he was like I think like 7'2" and he had a long wingspan, but a lot of the times like when you're going to the hoop and you're like trying to dunk or you're trying to lay it up, like you got to be able to take that initial body bump first so that you can still go. Bro, some people couldn't take that initial body bump from Shaq. They would smack Shaq and go to the ground, or they would smack Shaq and that would alter their shot or their layup, and then Shaq's getting an easy block. So I got to give credit to Shaq for that. And then my last one, but I already know people are going to try to cook me in the comments. Y'all can try, but you won't, because men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. And my number 4 slot is Anthony Davis. I know this is going to sound and look like a stretch. I know it is, but out of the top 25 block leaders of all time, Anthony Davis is in 26, and he, out of the 25 or out of the 26, however you want to look at it, Anthony Davis is the only one actively playing. All 25 are already retired. So Anthony Davis, he's sitting at 1,705 blocks, and like I said, he's the only one playing out of this 26 left, and he still, I think, bro, got a couple of more good years left in him. Not saying he catches up to Hakeem or even Mutombo, but I do think he works his way up that list pretty handedly. And again, credit being that he's the only player still playing out of this top 25 list, and he's already up there, and he's still got a good amount of years. I got to put him in at that 4 slot.
Yeah, I mean, I think AD is an interesting case because, like you said, he's basically of the active players, he's probably the guy you would think about the most right now for blocking shots. At least like of established stars that are probably going to be in like the Hall of Fame or something like that. But for my list, I'm starting it off same way as you. I have Hakeem Olajuwon as my first spot. You know, he really locked down like all the best bigs at the time, and one of the biggest reasons he would do that is like he would literally stuff their shots. You know, from David Robinson in the playoffs to Shaq in the finals, like he did it no matter what. And he had like 10 seasons averaging 3 blocks a game. Like that seems like unheard of today, you know?
It is. With
that being said, my second pick is going to seem a little funny because I have David Robinson for almost a lot of the similar reasons as Hakeem. He basically did the same thing to everybody except a little less to Hakeem. So I mean, I think considering that, like, you know, I gotta put him on here. The one thing I will say though about him is that, and I mean, this is, you know, someone who, I mean, they really went back and forth with like leading the league in blocks per game around the like early 90s and stuff like that. So it's definitely not like, you know, he never got the better end of Hakeem or something like that, like maybe people think because of the playoff series. Like sometimes he did, but what I will say too is that like he's definitely got like even more strength to him. So it's like the, whatever you want to say, like the power, I guess, on the blocks, like are like almost next level, I would say a little bit.
Deflating the ball.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And that's kind of like the direction I went with these next two as well. I believe you mentioned Dikembe Mutombo on yours, so I have him as well. I mean, he basically like coined or patented the finger wag, and then, you know, they call him Mount Mutombo for a reason. He's a 3-time blocks per game leader, so definitely got to give him credit there. And then my last one, it's someone he didn't have, but I do think maybe he's not quite as high on like the blocks per game list necessarily. He didn't average like all too many blocks, but when he got a block, like it was going to the second story, like it literally, and that's Ben Wallace.
Ooh, I love that pick.
Yeah, I'm like literally, aside from maybe Dwight Howard, there's probably nobody in the last 25 years that has blocked a shot harder than him.
I agree.
So and I mean, this is a guy who's also a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, and part of the reason is just because like being a presence right there that can be able to swat your shot, and not only swat your shot, but literally, as you said, deflate the ball and like literally deflate you as the opponent. So I got to put him on here.
Yeah. That's demoralizing. I don't care much about getting blocked just because like 9 times out of 10 I'm almost always the smallest or close to the smallest person on the court. But getting blocked like a hard block, like like when you hear the ball or getting it pinned, yeah, those are tough.
Lights out for the opponent then. Speaking of lights out, shooters.
I caught that one. Yeah. I love it.
I was planning that one a little bit.
I love it.
But yeah, I mean, we could talk about the shooters. Now, I feel like this one might be a little easier for a few of them, but there's still going to probably be some differences. So you can start it off. Who are your 4 shooters for the list?
Here we go. Number 1, Stephen Curry. I got to give him his credit. Look, and I'm gonna be real with y'all, okay? So if there's any Warriors fans here, just put your biases aside and just talk to me and get real quick, all right? Stephen Curry changed the game, and he made it better for the pros and high-level hoopers, and he made it more fun. But he ruined the game of basketball for everybody. If you're not a pro hooper, if you're not a high-level hooper, and if you're not looking to watch the game of basketball, if you're a little 5-year-old, 7-year-old kid looking to get into the game of basketball, do not watch Stephen Curry. Do not watch Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry has literally ruined the game for kids because kids out there that have no guidance and know no better, and realistically is a lot of kids. Like when I was a child, bro, my pops didn't play no basketball. Nobody in my family played basketball. I'm the only person that played basketball in my family, so it wasn't nobody working me out. I didn't have no uncle working me out. Like I was straight on YouTube, and then when as I got older, I picked up trainers and whatnot. But when I was a little kid, bro, like I understood something early, and that is that, bro, you gotta, if you want to shoot deep, you gotta start in. You gotta start with them form shots and inside. Then you gotta take a step back, switch another 5, take another step back, switch another 5, and you gotta work your way back. These kids, legitimately, Garrett, I have gone to the gym and seen kids in there just straight coming in, no warm up, no stretch, pulling from half court. And the crazy thing is they're not even shooting it right. They're shooting it like Stephen Curry, which he doesn't even shoot it right. He shoots a push shot, but then again, like his skill, and there's so many other things that he can do that it minimizes all like, any room for error. But these kids, they don't have all that skill, so they get out there, they're trying to be like Stephen Curry, shooting from the logo, and now you're building your foundation of a shot on something that's not how you shoot. It's the wrong form. Like, so everything. So I will say this, and I will die on this take. Stephen Curry ruined the game for kids, made it better for adults, made it better for pros, made it more fun to watch, and I give him credit for that, but he ruined the game for kids. But even with that, he's definitely still my number 1 shooter of all time. Number 2 is actually going to be Klay Thompson, the man who scored 60 points on 11 dribbles. That might be one of the craziest games I have ever watched in my life. 60 points on 11 dribbles is out of this world. Probably, I have between him and somebody else, who I'm going to probably go with. They probably have the most pure shot I've ever seen, to be honest. Like, as a basketball player, like, you should try to replicate exactly what Klay Thompson and this other person does. I'm just going to go ahead and say this other person. It's kind of already clear. It's Ray Allen. I mean, for Klay, he holds the record for most 3-pointers in a game with 14 threes in one game. But, like, his shot and Ray Allen's shot is the same every time. Like, I don't care if they're falling back. I don't care if they're fading. I don't care if there's defenses closing out to them. I don't care if they're wide open. It's the same every time. And that's so hard to do as a basketball player. Like, have your shot be the same every time, because you're always catching it at different places. Your body's in different like spots or whatnot. But Klay and Ray, just literally if kids out there, if there's any kid out there and wants to learn how to shoot, go watch Klay and go watch Ray, and you're gonna see exactly why. And then for my last one, I'm gonna go with Larry Bird. This is another take that I'm not gonna say I'll die on the ledge for, especially because I think Stephen Curry just continued to rise and rise. But Larry Bird, bro, when Stephen Curry was first coming up, and I live in the Bay Area, so I had to hear all this. Like, people was thinking Stephen Curry was the next coming of Jesus Christ, right? And I'm over here telling people like, yo, Stephen Curry's a good shooter, but you realize that Larry Bird's rookie year was the first year that the NBA brought the 3-point line in. Like it was taboo to shoot 3-pointers. Like if you shot too many 3-pointers, like coaches taking you out the game, right? Like Larry Bird literally is a great shooter and only averaged one 3-pointer attempts per game his rookie year. Like, you know what I'm saying? But that's also because part of the game plan was to go inside. Part of the game plan was to give it to the big first. But if he played in today's era, I ain't gonna lie. Like, I don't know if I fully believe this because Stephen Curry has just continued to get better and better and better. But I think he would have been able to give Stephen Curry a good competition for all-time threes made. And then Larry Bird, he's a 3-time 3-point contest winner. And I'm pretty sure it was in a row. And I'm pretty sure one of them is an infamous story where he went in there and he's like, all right, who's going to get second place? And then came out there and shot in his warm-up jersey. Yeah. So those are my 4: Curry, Clay, Bird, and Ray.
I like that list. You know, it's a little different from what I have, so I think that's good about it. But starting off, I'd start off the same way. I do have Steph Curry. I think most of us can agree he's the best 3-point shooter there is. And statistically, I mean, another aspect of shooting is really just, you know, it might not seem as flashy as a 3-pointer, but he also leads all time in free throw percentage. So I think that's definitely important. And I mean, probably a crazy stat too for him is that in his 15 seasons he's played in the NBA, 13 of them he shot over 40% from 3, and this is as like leading the league in attempts, like half those years. So I think that's pretty insane, like to have that consistency. Like that, there's a reason why people call him the greatest shooter there is. But you know, a guy who was widely claimed the greatest shooter right before him, Ray Allen, and that's why I have Ray Allen on here. I would argue that, you know, I think what makes Curry, like what separates him a little bit as a shooter is that he has even a really good touch, like kind of around the rim if it's a floater or whatever, or falling away shots or off the dribble. But I would say Ray Allen might be a better catch and shoot guy. You know, because strictly on that, like he got to his spots all the time, and he just found a way to, you know, for one, like in 2013, get behind that line. Or I mean, like I remember too, like when they played the Bulls in 2009, and he turned into he really turned into Jesus Shuttlesworth in that one. So it was just crazy. And so he's definitely a super clutch shooter. Got to give him credit there. But another guy who's a super clutch shooter is Reggie Miller, who I had to put him on here. You know, coming off screens, probably just, you know, better than anyone or as good as anybody that we've ever seen in the game. And I think like he also does it on multiple levels. You know, like I think, you know, Ray and Curry usually coming off the screens from like 3-point range, but he would also even do it in the mid range. So got to give him credit there. And the last one is someone that might be a wild card a little bit, but you know, you don't have him on yours, but I've always kind of thought this guy is like a top 4, top 5 shooter ever. Doesn't really get maybe enough credit. You know, unfortunately he passed away like while playing, but I'm going with Drazen Petrovic. This is a guy who is 4th all time in 3-point percentage, and I feel like in a way, like what I was saying with like Pete Maravich, like he was almost kind of like a trendsetter as well. You know, like really early in his career, like one could argue that he was maybe even a better shooter than Reggie Miller at that time. Like you could argue that. I'm not going to definitively say it, but that's the trajectory it looked like potentially, and then unfortunately tragedy happened. But the other thing I'll say about him is that like these other 3 guys, I mean, like Reggie, like he would kind of trash talk and stuff like that. I feel like Steph and Ray are mostly like kind of nicer guys on the court, but like when Drazen Petrovic was like locked in, like he would have like a stone cold face, and you know what I mean, like you wouldn't want to mess with him. And if he was locked in, it was probably going in like every single time. So those are my 4, and yeah,
I love it. I love that. I love that list, brother. And I'm excited. I want to see how you're going to transition to this next one. This next one's going to be a tough transition. I hope you thought of it.
Well, I did think of it. I'm surprised though you didn't ask me about a Clay not being on the.
Well, because I'm gonna be honest. When you said Reggie, I was like, you know what, like that probably should have had Reggie in there, to be honest with you. But and the only person I would remove would be Clay, to be real with you, just because there's no way I'm removing Ray, Curry, or Bird. But that's the only reason why I wasn't so mind blown on it, because right when you said Reggie, I was like, damn, I totally forgot about Reggie, and I blanked.
But I mean,
but tell me why you didn't have Clay though, because I feel like Clay at least deserves to be in the conversation.
I just feel like these other guys. I mean, it's not that Clay couldn't, but I just feel like these other guys also can put it on the floor a little bit better, and like hitting their shots. Like, it's nothing, I guess, too personal to Clay, but I don't know.
But fuck you, Clay.
I mean, like in terms of like, you know, straight catch and shoot, like I would probably say if it was a catch and shoot Mount Rushmore, then he'd be on there. But if it's just like shooters in general, like there's a reason too why I didn't put him on here, but I was really considering Damian Lillard, because it's like who shoots from that far and who shoots off the dribble. True. You know what I mean? Like that.
That's true.
So, I mean, having Clay and Steph, like, I mean, as you have them on your Mount Rushmore, and it's like, I don't know, man. Now they're gone, but it was fun while it lasted. Speaking of last,
Garrett, hey man, you are good at this, brother. I like it. I love it.
We can move on though to the last topic, and called the Lasters because, you know, these are maybe the 4 guys that we believe have kind of like the best longevity or have been like dominant or playing at an exceptional level for the longest. And I'll let you start it off with your 4.
All right, brother. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think you already know what my number 1 is, to be real with you. I would hope you have the same number 1, but I don't know. We'll see. Honestly, bro, it's got to be LeBron. Like the same way that we look at, you know, Hakeem. That's like, there's no way Hakeem's not the GOAT blocker. There's just no way LeBron's not number 1 in this category. Like, bro, what? And I'm gonna tell you this, bro. I'm gonna tell you this, and this is a spiel that I give people when they ask me who my GOAT is. And I'm not gonna get into why LeBron is my GOAT, but I'll say this: like, I started watching basketball because of this guy right here, Kobe freaking Bryant, man. He inspired me to play basketball. Like, I remember the nostalgic feeling of like sitting down on the couch with my big brother and watching Kobe play, and like going outside right after and trying all those fadeaways and just falling in love with the game of basketball. And for the longest, and when I was young, if you liked Kobe, you could not like Bron. Like, it was damn near like Bloods and Crips, bro. Like, if you like Kobe, you had to hate Bron. If you like Bron, you had to hate Kobe. And for anyone that like watches basketball nowadays, you think, oh, it wasn't like that. Oh, shit, you wasn't there then, because I guaranteed you it was like that. It was LeBron, the youngin' coming up, and Kobe, the you know, the OG kind of making his way out, and everybody is ready to say like, oh, Bron better than Kobe. I'm like, chill out at the time, right? But bro, in 2020, when LeBron won an NBA championship at the age of 36 and led the league in assists and was one of the most efficient scorers, and then I'm thinking like, yo, like LeBron's 35. Like, I mean, the year before, I'm like, well, LeBron's 35. Like, he's probably gonna start slowing down. No, bro. Like, no. At 36, fucking leads the league in assists and is one of the most efficient scorers. At 37, continues to be one of the top scorers in the league. At 38, he's still one of the most efficient and top scorers in the league. Bro, at the age of 39, a team, and the team isn't necessarily successful, but it isn't his fault. I think there's a lot of other reasons why the team is not successful, but a team is still like building around him. A team is still giving him the keys and saying, yo, like, this is your team, this is your offense. Like, in the playoffs, LeBron James is the point guard for that Lakers team. LeBron James is the decision maker for that Lakers team. He's the one making the decisions. He's the one orchestrating the offense. I've never, not just me, you, me, nobody ever, that if you watch basketball, we have never seen someone this old still be this integrated in the offense and still be such an important part of an integral part of what the team is doing. Without a shadow of a doubt, LeBron James is number 1 on this list for me. Number 2 on this list for me is Vince Carter. Vince Carter played 22 seasons, and the crazy thing is, bro was literally still windmilling in his last year in the league. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, the only other person I see doing that is LeBron James. And the thing is that, bro, Vince Carter probably would have still been playing. I'm gonna be honest with you. He wouldn't have been as like effective as LeBron is. If it wasn't for COVID, he still would have been playing. He has said it himself. Like, yo, like, COVID was the reason I retired. Like, all that stuff hit. It was just so much uncertainty. It was this and that. And I didn't want to be away from my family. So I just retired. So I got to give him that. My number 3 and my number 4, I ain't going to lie, I don't have much to say on this. But my number 3 is Robert Parrish. Played 21 seasons. played 1,611 games. I got to give him that. And then my number 4, actually, no, swap that around. Robert Parrish is my number 4. My number 3 is Dirk. Only because, like, bro, I remember watching the old Dirk, and, like, also, like, Dirk on his way out, like, he was such a good mentor to Luka, and, like, I've heard Luka talk about that so much and how Dirk was just there for him. And I feel like part of the longevity is, you know, dominating, like, you know, how we're seeing LeBron doing, but it's like, how can you have other effects on the game? Because there's only one LeBron that we've literally ever seen in NBA history to, like, be this dominant this late in their career, but you can still affect the game in other ways. And that's exactly what Dirk was doing. Literally just, like, grabbed the mantle or the torch or whatever and handed it to Luka, and, like, I think Luka's running with it. So I gotta give it to Dirk.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid list. You know, to start mine off, I will start it off the same way as you. I got LeBron. You know, going into year 22, and he's still, like, last season was an all-star and probably will be again this year. You know, 20 times made the all-star team, which is the most of anybody. So, I mean, I think considering that, and we're basing off, like, who has been doing it kind of the longest at a high level, the most total points of anybody. So I think with that being said, it's pretty self-explanatory. You got to put him in this list. My second choice, I'm a little surprised you didn't put him on your second choice or as one of your choices. But I went with Kareem. Yeah, I went with Kareem because he is second on the all-star list. He's got 19 of them. But in another stat that I think is interesting is that he's a 2-time Finals MVP, but he won one in year 2, and then he won another in, like, year 16. Like, that's pretty far apart, you know what I mean? Like, and with 2 different teams, 2 different situations, and he also averaged, like, 20 a game for, like, 17 years, so I gotta put him in there. And then number 3, you had him on yours. I went with Dirk. I mean, this is a guy who was an all-star until his 17th year. I'm not counting that last year when Adam Silver just gifted him an all-star game. And I like Dirk. Dirk's my favorite power forward ever, but we're not counting that. But up until, like, year 17, and this is a guy who had, like, 15 years, too, where he was pretty healthy. He played, like, 75 games or more. And then that's also considering, like, 2 of those years he played, like, there was a lockout. So it's like there was, like, 50 games or 66 games in 2 of those years. So it's like physically he couldn't play 75 games, so probably could have even been more. And on top of that, 20 point per game seasons, like, for 13 years, so I got to put him in there. And then my last one, you also had him on yours. I had Robert Parrish. You know, this is a guy who has the most games played, and it's like, I think the thing that separates him and Vince Carter is that up until maybe about 2 or 3 years left, he was really playing, like, pretty much like what he was doing. Like, I think from 1976 until, like, 1994, he was pretty consistent, about a double-double, like, every game, or on average for a game. Then the last 2 or 3 years, he was terrible. Like, he was just kind of on the coattails, riding the bench. But the thing I think that separates it for Vince Carter is that, like, Vince, I believe his last All-Star appearance was, like, 2007. And on top of that, it's like he played until 2020, so there were, like, 13 years there where it's like, yeah, I don't know. And then especially, like, the last 5 or 6 years, he was kind of just hanging around and everything. Like, I think a weird stat that I saw one time is that you really wouldn't believe it, but you know how Vince and T-Mac are cousins. Like, T-Mac made an All-Star appearance more recently than Vince, but Vince played, like, 8 years extra, you know? So I think with that considered, it's like, it's just kind of hard. And Robert Parrish, too, is also, like, pretty durable as well. I think he had, like, 9 seasons where he played, like, 80 games or more. So, yeah.
Durability is a big thing, bro. I feel like part of this longevity. So, man, I like that list, though. I ain't gonna lie. Who you had Hakeem, right? That's who you had.
I had Kareem.
Kareem, yeah. I don't know why I thought. Yeah, honestly, Kareem's a great choice. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, the only ones I really knew for this one for sure was LeBron and Dirk. I ain't gonna lie. And then the rest I kind of had to start, like, really thinking about. But yeah,
I will say too, like, if we were actually basing this off, like, how good people were at a later age, then I would have considered putting Jordan in there. But, like, since it's based on, like, how long they've actually, I'm like, he retired like twice, so it's like that's about 15 years, so it's like it's substantially less than these guys, so I can't put him in everything, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, those are basically our lists. I think before we close it out, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about, like, is there any like snubs or like maybe like guys that we didn't mention for any of these that you think should be noted?
The one thing I'll say is, I mean, it's funny because like Jordan's your goat and LeBron's my goat, but like and like you said, you can't put Jordan on all of them, and I agree. I feel like you can't put no player on all of these. These are just it's tough. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like, in my opinion, I'm not saying this as a LeBron fan, but I feel like LeBron could probably be in the most. LeBron is for sure in the scoring, for sure in the longevity. That's 2. He could be in rebounding. He's the number 8 rebounder of all time. He could be in passing. He's number 4 passer of all time. And then I don't know about steals and I don't know about blocks. So I think that's 4 categories that bro could be in. I think for sure in 2, maybe in 3 because of that passing. I really want to put number 4 in there. But yeah, I just think it just shows these guys freaking greatness, dude. Like, we're blessed to be able to watch these guys.
I think we were both equally as pro for our GOAT choices, I believe, right? Because I think you had LeBron twice and Jordan once, and then I had Jordan twice and LeBron once on my list. So it was like the exact opposite there. But yeah, I mean, I already mentioned, I think for scorers, Jerry West. I think Harden is another choice that is interesting. I don't think he'd be there, but at his best, he's up there.
At his best, yeah. But that's because he damn near found a loophole in scoring. Because, like, bro, like, I'm going to be honest, like, a bucket is a bucket. Like, no matter how you get it. But, bro, he was getting that, when he first came on, I was getting that hook like crazy. He was hooking people like as if I hooked this mic and then just putting his hands up. I'm like, bro, of course you're going to get the foul call. But, hey, bucket is a bucket. So
I think for passing, I mean, some of the guys I was thinking of, like, you kind of either had them on there or you mentioned them. I was thinking Dwight Howard for the Swatters, because he also, like, in a way, like I was saying with Ben Wallace. Sure. And then I also was considering Elmore Smith. I mean, this is a guy who's very old school, but he has the most blocks in a game, and he has, like, one of the highest blocks per game averages. So, but it was just a little hard to put him in there. I think rebounding, Drummond's an interesting choice. Elvin Hayes too. That was tough to leave him out. I think for shooters, I don't know if did we mention Kyle Korver or.
I don't think no. We definitely didn't mention Kyle Korver
because he's another guy I was thinking of for that. And then for the swiper, the swipers is interesting because, like, I think Tony Allen is another guy I was thinking of a little bit.
Great pick.
And I was also thinking, like, just to give him a shout out, I was thinking like Quinn Buckner, which is from the 80s. And he, like I was saying with Alvin Robertson, who has the highest steals per minute of any player in history, like, he's second all time on that. So I feel like that's a really unique stat because it's like, especially for guys who are like pressuring the ball a lot. So there's that. And then for the lasters, I mean, could have also put the mailman, but I think another unique one is Jamal Crawford.
Oh, what a good one, actually. That's actually a really good one, to be honest with you. And he's still hooping for real. Like, he's just not in the league, but he's still hooping for real. Might fuck around and catch him at 24-hour fitness.
Yeah, those were like some of the other ones I was just thinking of, though. I was thinking, like, because Jamal, it's like you don't think of him as star-studded as maybe like any of the guys we named on that category, but he was really good till the end. I mean, he had like, what, a 50-point game, like his last game of his like 20th year. Like,
I think he's the oldest player to have a 50-point game.
Yeah, so it is what it is, but yeah, I feel like this was pretty good. I'm glad we could connect on this one, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You got anything else you want to add before we wrap this one up?
No, none really to add. Appreciate you having me on here, brother. For everybody watching, if you guys want to check out my channels, I have 2 channels. I got ClutchTalk, which is right here. It's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can follow me on Instagram, on TikTok. It's at ClutchTalkPod. Then I have another channel that's called Lakers Corner, where it's strictly, bringing you Lakers content, Lakers news. And we're in a corner, and y'all see it's a Lakers corner. So that's why we got a Lakers corner, and that is on YouTube exclusively. And if you want to follow Instagram and TikTok, it's at Lakers_corner, and then the TikTok is at Lakers Corner 24. I love y'all, and Garrett, you're my boy. I can't wait for another invite for another episode, and I still need to get my run back on one of your series. I need to win because I've lost like 2 series on your channel, but I'm about to bounce back.
For what, the tournaments?
Yeah, for the tournaments.
Yeah. I honestly, like, it's funny you mentioned that, like, because I didn't know that's why you called it Lakers Corner. It's because of the, like, corner back there.
Literally, bro. Like, I was thinking of figuring out, like, wow, what do I name this? And I'm like, oh, Lakers Corner. Like, where I'm in a corner. So that's why.
But, yeah, if you guys want to check out John at either ClutchTalk or Lakers Corner, I'll have his stuff linked down below. And, yeah, man, it should be good. You should also, like, let us know down below if you disagree or if you agree with anything in the comments. Or yeah, I mean, because I feel like there's a lot of choices that even we didn't name that,
for sure,
you know, there's just a lot of ways that you can go with this. So again, appreciate it, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. Thank you guys for watching, and we're out. Peace.